All right, welcome to this Money Monday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco, coming at you live from the Corona Bunker Studios. Yes, in my living room in Staten Island, New York. Lots to cover this week, lots going on around the world, lots going on right here in New York City. And you're just not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. But you know, I've been going pretty hard on the Black Lives Matter folks. And I have unabashedly been supportive of the NYPD and other police departments across the country. I've said numerous times that while, yes, Black Lives Matter, and I agree, and the George Floyd killing was reprehensible, Blue Lives Matter too, and they matter a lot. And it's what we pay taxes for. It's what we need to make sure that we have quality of life. And, going back a few weeks ago when a lot of my friends in the area were significantly hurt because their businesses were closed, salons were closed, people I knew who cut hair, who did nails, were all out of business. So in a charitable endeavor, I opened up my backyard because, as some of you know who watch often, I have quite a large backyard. And I allowed friends of mine who were salon workers to come and cut hair and do nails and stuff in my house. And the people who needed haircuts were very happy. And the people who were cutting hair and doing nails were very happy too because they were getting tips. And everybody who came was making a little donation. And then because it was a charitable event, we were making donations every single week to all different, St. Baldrick's Foundation, $1,000, Gianna Nicole's Heart of Hope. I think all told, over 3 weeks, we raised about $4,000 for different charities by having a little impromptu salon in my backyard. And my capitalism struck those on the left a little too hard. I got a flood of complaints. People called the building department, other people called 311 and said John Tobacco's running a commercial business out of his house. I didn't make a penny. We gave away thousands of dollars to charities, but yet the haters out there had it shut down, okay? So I shut it down. I try to conform, and I figure, okay, phase 2 is here, salons are open again, let sleeping dogs lie. This morning I came out of the house and my car has been stolen. And I live in a neighborhood where, it's quite bucolic. There's not a big crime area here in Staten Island, New York. But I think the BLM figured out another way to get to me was to maybe steal my car. So it sure looks like, no matter how you slice it, my home is under attack. My vehicles are under attack. And as we sit here today, Monday morning, we're going to talk about your money a little later on. Kevin McCullough is coming up right after this. Heard here in New York City on AM 970 The Answer. Every week he's on Fox. Heard a nationally syndicated radio show on Saturday. He's also on Biz TV. And Kev's going to be here and talk about the spike, no, not in Corona, in crime from defunding the police. And let me tell you, 2 cops just showed up at my house to talk about the theft. They were polite, excellent, thorough, did their job, and I thanked them for their service. Said, God bless you. But lots going on. Market up 350 today. I don't know why, but what I can tell you is this. I'm going to talk about it a little later in segment 3. Colin Kaepernick and his buddies over at Nike are starting to feel the pain of Nike's activism, and huge losses this quarter for Nike, and I love it. I want to ring the bell on that one because, Michael Jordan said Republicans buy sneakers too, and Phil Knight and the folks over at Nike, when they made Colin Kaepernick their spokesperson, the guy who wears pigs on his socks, they thought they wouldn't be, they thought they'd be immune, but apparently they're not. So, Nike's not looking good. A lot of things are looking good. Your portfolio is good. We're going to take a quick break right here and come back with Kevin McCullough right after this. All right, welcome back. You're watching Biz TV, and usually on Mondays it's Money Monday, so I like to talk to you a lot about your portfolio, what's happening in the markets. We're going to get to all that stuff in a little while. The biggest news out there, in my view, these days is the spike. It's spiking everywhere. It's spiking. What? No, not the coronavirus. The left-wing media will have you believe that the whole country's being infected. They do forget to tell you, coincidentally, that when Barack Obama was president and we got hit with the H1N1 swine flu, did you know 60 million Americans were actually infected with the swine flu? We don't hear much about that at all. But, as it stands right now, the spike that's much worse is the spike in crime. The cry from the left, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and others, defund the police, abolish the police. And, my good friend Kevin McCullough joins us right now. He's heard on the radio every day right here on AM 970, The Answer in New York, nationally syndicated on the weekends, also seen on Biz TV. And, he's almost always on with Harris Faulkner and the crew over at Fox News. Kev, thanks for giving us a few minutes today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, Kev, your recent article at townhall.com hits it right on the head, where you said the single most important domestic issue of our time is not the rising number of COVID tests. The single most important issue is the hardship of a nation artificially shut down, spiraling into recession, and now on top of it, we're defunding police when people are as desperate as ever. It's absolutely bizarre.
It is unbelievable, and I knew it was bad, John, but when I started researching for this current column, I started going city by city, I will say I was prejudiced. I picked what I figured were the most impacted crime-ridden cities in the last 6 weeks, and I only narrowed what I wrote about to contain changes that happened since the murder of George Floyd, which was, believe it or not, only 6 weeks ago yesterday. So in 6 weeks, I looked at 6 different cities, and we have now seen close to 600 murders in those 6 weeks. And what we're talking about is an explosion, not just a slight uptick. We're talking about tens of percentages across many cities across America. I could have actually gone on and done maybe 20 to 50 cities that you see this trend in, but they have something in common, and it is that they are all talking loudly about defunding law enforcement, and they're all run by Democrats. I'm not saying that it's the Democrats' fault. I'm just pointing out that fact. What you're seeing is in places where Democrats are in control, and in places like Baltimore and Philadelphia and Chicago, they have been for quite a long time. These cities are undergoing enormous explosions in crime, and you point to it and you have to say, well, why is that happening? And why did it start 6 weeks ago? I think it has a lot to do with the discussion of how important, how neglected, how unneeded the police are for the citizens of those prospective municipalities. And what you're seeing is, I think, just a preview of coming attractions when the cuts actually do go into effect in another 6 months or so.
No doubt about it. And Kev, our good buddy, New York City Councilman Joe Borelli, put up a tweet yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but
I did.
He talked about how on the 4th of July in New York, there were 20 shooting incidents, 33 people shot in one day on the 4th of July, not shot with a bottle rocket, shot with a gun. And here in New York, I know some of it was symbolic, where they cut $1 billion they defunded $1 billion from the cops. But what they did do was they removed the anti-crime unit, 600 cops who were doing the real dirty work on gun violence. And Ray Kelly really laid into the mayor, former New York City Police Commissioner Ray Kelly, laid into Mayor de Blasio yesterday on John Katz's show. On top of everything else, our city's getting killed, and blue cities around the country are getting killed, but yet they're talking about Trump not having people wear masks at Mount Rushmore, and that's going to cause a spike, but these protests aren't. What's happening to our country?
John, I've never seen it this bad, but there is such an earnest, emanates from their soul kind of anger at wanting to be in power. that the far left in this country exhibit right now, not just towards Trump, but towards anything related to Trump, towards medicine that Trump takes, towards people that wear Trump t-shirts, towards people that have a Trump flag up, anything that comes close to him. I saw a video this weekend of a woman, I think it was in Las Vegas, outside of a Trump property, and she was drunk off her backside, no doubt, but she was spitting and yelling at her cell phone all these obscenities about Trump in front of the sign at his hotel. And I don't understand. You may not like him. There may be things about his personality that you say, you know what, that's not my cup of tea or whatever. But you can't pit any of this on him. These problems are real. Drive down Fifth Avenue, drive down Madison Avenue right now, and tell me how that doesn't have more in common with Beirut than it does Paris or London. And there's one reason for that. There's one reason why Manhattan now looks like a war zone. It's because we have given in to these anarchists and Marxists, and we haven't established law and order. And we think we've convinced ourselves we're doing the right thing. We need people that are going to rule with common sense. They're going to say, no. If I serve the people that elect me, I'm going to do so from the basis that there is a right and there is a wrong, and we're going to support the right.
So, Kev, here in New York, shootings are up 46%, and Bill de Blasio's agenda for us is empty out Rikers Island on one prison system. And then our governor here in New York went to cashless bail. So the criminals get arrested, they go in, they're cashless bail, they're out of jail, they go out, and their recidivism is crazy. Meantime, cops are retiring in droves. I mean, we're going to go back to the 70s when David Dinkins and others, our city was literally a jungle.
I was talking with former Commissioner Bernie Kerik, who was on duty the day of 9/11, and he was saying to me, Kev, it's been 3 decades since we have seen anything remotely like this. He said, but it is beginning to look like that time again. And he mentioned the same things you just did. For people that are watching in other parts of the country outside of the New York area, we have what's called bail reform, and it's the best way to describe it is turnstile. Because when the cop brings the perp to the precinct to fill out the paperwork and to give him his judgment to appear ticket that he has to come to court with, the guy is out the door, released, free, almost before the cop can finish filling out the paperwork. And that's how ridiculous this is. Now, to their credit, some people in the assembly, like Nicole Maliotakis and some others, have been fighting very hard, and last Friday did get some concessions that that judges will be given an amount of discretion now, and there's going to be a process to hold some of these people. But when you're talking about defunding $1 billion from a police department that operates on a $6 billion budget. And remember, John, in New York, we struggle with things that other cities don't. We need an anti-terrorism task force because we're the only city in America that is targeted like basically its own nation as a terror target. And we can't pull resources from all of these things and just have the same level of law enforcement going down. When we were the greatest and the biggest world powers city, to be the safest city on the planet for those 30 years, those 3 decades, it is discouraging. It is disheartening to see what we have fallen to in only 6 weeks' time.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. You guys stay right there because I got a lot coming up that I want to go crazy about, and I'm going to do that right after this. All righty, welcome back. I am aggravated as can be today. I can tell you that. I'm really ticked off because my car got stolen, but there's some new evidence is emerging. One of my neighbors just came by and said that he has some footage of the assailants, and I may have to track down those perpetrators myself because the police have a lot on their hands right now, so I may take a little Louisville slugger and find out where these guys live and, hold a protest. I may, all cause matter, if you ask me. I want to talk about one thing. I want to talk about Nike in a little bit here. But first, I want to just throw something out there. The idea that satire and comedy are no longer accepted in our society is really getting sickening to me. And I'll tell you what I mean, okay? I have a bunch of group texts in my phone, like different people I hang out with, different groups of people, and everybody sends group texts and fools around. And, you know, the whole cancel culture has got people so shaken up that you can't even fool around anymore. I was joking around with some friends of mine, and I said, you know, for those of you who are golf lovers, FYI, going forward, we can no longer use white golf balls. And I was joking, you know what I'm saying? It's like a joke. It's like, you know, kind of a satirical reference to the mayhem and maniac stuff that's going on in our society that you don't know what's next. I mean, who thought Aunt Jemima would be revoked from our refrigerators? Who thought Uncle Ben would be pulled out of our closets? Who thought the Eskimo pie guy would be history? Nobody. So when, you know, fooling around is not allowed anymore, even if it's in a satirical way. And it's really, you know, decaying our society in ways that you can't even imagine. Now, at the same time, you have guys like Jimmy Kimmel, Ted Danson, women like Sarah Silverman, who have had no problem from the woke left culture, that they repeatedly did blackface. But that's comedy. That's satire. Billy Crystal did blackface on a number of occasions, and he's like, you know, one of the, you know, patriarchs of Hollywood. And none of these people, not a hair on their face. So be careful what you say out there these days, because even jokes are being canceled in the new woke. Should I say woke is a joke? Or joke is a woke? Woke is a joke. Yeah, all right, I'll take that. Woke is a joke, if you ask me, and woke is apparently now coming after jokes at the same time. Let's celebrate a wonderful quarter for Nike. And I said last year when Nike decided to choose Colin Kaepernick as their spokesperson, and they're putting his giant-sized face and his giant-sized fro on the sides of buildings, that's their guy. That's the person they want us to look up to, okay? They want little kids to look up to Colin Kaepernick, a guy who wears, you know, pigs on his socks to make fun of cops, okay? Nike, it seems, and I call it Nike because I don't see the little slash over the E, but my producer Nico tells me that I have to say Nike. If there was a Y at the end, I would say Nike, but I think it's just Nike, in America at least. But apparently Phil Knight and the folks over at Nike, they don't really care about America because they basically canceled 50% of America when they decided to make Colin Kaepernick the spokesman for their brand, a guy who was unabashedly anti-American and unabashedly anti-cop. So they're now feeling the pain. Let's take a look at how well they did last quarter. Nike reports a surprise $790 million loss. Bing, bing. 46% plunge in North American sales. And they're saying, well, maybe because of COVID. No, it's not because of COVID, okay? Because online buying is up huge. So people are still buying things online, sometimes even more because, you know, people are locked in their house and they're going on these online buying sprees. I see boxes of Amazon boxes on steps all over the place. You know why Nike's down? And I've been saying for a year now, and I was wrong for a little bit because the stock was going up. I've been saying for a year now that Nike is a wonderful stock to short. If you're an activist, they're gonna feel the pain, and now they're feeling the pain. Phil Knight, how do you like it? Down 790 million year over year. They didn't lose 790 million. That's $790 million more than last year. So they're in some deep stuff, let's just call it. I'd stay away from Nike if I were you, but on a Money Monday, your portfolio is looking pretty darn good today as the Dow is up 300, but I'd still stay careful. I'll talk to you about that a little more in the first hour here, but whopper of a show coming up for you today. Nico was working overtime the whole weekend. And Darren Aquino is going to be with us next. He's a Republican candidate for Congress in Florida's 19th district. And we need not only to keep the Senate, we need to take back the House and get Trump in the White House again for another 4 years. Darren Aquino is going to be with us right after this.
Most financially successful people own assets that make them money while they sleep. They usually own real estate, vehicles, intellectual property, equipment, and more. These assets make passive income through leases, subscriptions, royalties, and fees that don't require time, energy, or attention. Your assets do the work, and you collect the check. So what kind of asset should you buy? The most valuable companies in the world, like Amazon, Google, and Apple, all have the same thing in common. They make a majority of their revenue from data technology assets, storing, collecting, processing, and providing data. It's all about the data. What if you could own data tech assets with a low upfront cost? Introducing Apex, a proprietary technology built to process and mine data and render artificial intelligence and 3D gaming at exceptionally high rates. Apex Tech has partnered with SafeTech, a subsidiary of a publicly traded company called InvestView. SafeTech's business model leverages Apex technology to disrupt the multi-trillion-dollar data tech industry, giving you the competitive advantage. SafeTech's growth strategy is to capture a significant share of the market. SafeTech will enter into a 60-month lease with owners of Apex Systems. Why would they do that? Why not just buy all the equipment themselves? The same reason most companies lease instead of own, to scale quickly without the upfront costs and for the tax benefits. So how do you get started? You purchase an Apex system. Then you can lease it to SafeTech for 60 months at a rate of $500 per month. That's a total of $30,000 paid to you over the life of the lease. So what's your responsibility besides purchasing the Apex system? Nothing. During the lease, SafeTech is responsible for any maintenance costs to keep things running for you. Just collect a check every month for the next 60 months. This tremendous financial opportunity positions you to follow the strategies of the financially successful. You can leverage data technology to produce passive income that generates revenue without your time, energy, or effort. This is what is meant by creating multiple streams of income. But the opportunity to participate will not last forever. If this concept fits your financial goals, take action today while you still have the chance.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
Hey, how are you there? And it's a Money Monday on Liquid Lunch. I'm John Tobacco. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV, coming to you live as we do every day these days from the Corona Bunker Studios in my living room. You know, there's so much going on in the country and the world, but I started an effort going back about 9 months ago where I had some shirts made that say, "Make AOC Bartend Again." And for those of you who are just figuring this out, just 2 years ago, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was a bartender. And there's nothing wrong with being a bartender, that's fine. But suddenly now, she's been thrust into the spotlight by the progressive left. She's a big advocate of the Green New Deal, where they want to get rid of petroleum, they want to get rid of trains, planes, automobiles. I guess they want us to walk wherever we're going, and that's what I'll be doing today, being my car got robbed last night. But you know, one of the biggest problems I've been seeing in this country is that our president gets no support whatsoever from the House of Representatives. Nancy Pelosi and the loony left do everything they can to fight the president. I wish the president early on in the COVID scare would have came out and said, "Oh my God, I hate hydroxychloroquine," because then they would have been prescribing it to everyone and we'd probably be in a lot better shape. But you know, one of the bigger things I've been seeing here in New York is they talk about, you know, the homeless crisis. Most of the homeless people I see here in New York are mentally disabled. and that's probably why they're homeless. So it's really a compound problem. And one of my favorite former New Yorkers who's going to try to help get rid of Nancy Pelosi and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez joins me right now. He's a candidate for Florida's 19th congressional district. Darren Aquino joins us. He's a Republican down in Florida, just transplanted there. And I guess, Darren, things are so crazy that after 59 years of being in New York, you moved down to Florida, nice. And now all of a sudden you want to get in there and duke it out and try to get in Congress and help our president. I know you're a big advocate against homeless. I know you're a big advocate for disabled veterans. What's your campaign going to bring to the people of the 19th district?
Well, thanks for having me, Johnny. I'm happy to be here with you and share a little about the campaign and the crisis to the real Americans that are listening to keep America great. We had a great start with the president, and we got to keep them flowing because, as you can see, the far loony left and the mob of the motley crew of 32 that control in the House are taking away day by day your constitutional rights. It's not a question. It's obvious. It's before your eyes, and people are just blinded to that. Like you said, Ocasio, 28-year-old Ocasio goes in, the barmaid, and she wants to ruin everybody's life. She'd be better off, like you said. I want to get one of those bar T-shirts, by the way.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you one
of those because it's just criminal. Not as being Italian and Latino. My mother was Puerto Rican. It's insulting. The character she displays will label Latinos for her reckless work. Reckless. In her district, she could have made a difference. And then when I come in there to make a difference just for the homeless, she took no position on homeless veterans, mental illness, healthcare. Listen, the Obamacare didn't care, and we know that. So here in the district, I thought I was away from that problem. I was going to continue the advocacy. By the way, I had advocates for disabled Americans, veterans, police, firemen, and families. I've done that for 35 years. It's the only civil rights policing organization in the country. I formed it after Ronald Reagan, and I became a Reagan memo. And that's how I became a Republican. And that's why I decided to run for Congress, because when I got here, 1,000 homeless veterans and 2,000 mothers, battered women, and children on the streets. Together with that mental illness, creates a greater problem that can cause harm. That was, it wasn't a willful crime. You understand? We have to solve the mental illness homeless problem, and we can. It's simple. If people go to my website at www.aquino4congress, press in the right-hand corner and look at the press release that I sent to Governor Cuomo. I faxed to him on March 13th. More people died in New York from the COVID because he threw them in harm's way. If we want to talk how they tried to impeach our president, these are high crimes and misdemeanors by the elected officials. They put people at risk that resulted in death. You don't put sick people with vulnerable people. You isolate them. I told him how to do it. He could have taken the homeless off the street. And because you're in New York, how many armories do we have in New York? We have plenty. They're vacant, right?
For the most part, yeah.
We take the homeless off the street. We give a direction to the garment district. Make some outfits right away. We contain the disabled and the homeless. We put them in the outfits. We test them first. Why do we test them first? Because they were open and they're exposed to everybody. That way we would contain those who had it right there, and we'd separate them. You understand?
Yeah, I sure do. I sure do. Darren, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because we got a large part of our audience down in Florida, okay? And I want to make sure they know enough about you, because we need you to win down there in the 19th. A bunch of my commenters on here, Bob Kramer and my cousin Mike and a bunch of others are saying that you got their vote. People, I know what you need. Unfortunately, one of the problems with running for Congress is you got to raise money 75% of the time for your next election. Where can people go? What's your website where people can go to find out more about you, what you've done for 35 years? Where can people find out more about your candidacy?
Okay, they can go to Aquino4Congress.com. If you forget the address, just Google my name. Everything comes up. a whole history, a bio, TV shows, all of that stuff comes up. But it's Aquino #4, Congress.com. To keep going with the current moments, real time, go to my Twitter at Aquino4Congress at Twitter, and you'll see the current. Like yesterday, I was with fallen police officers. They're actually inside. My ground team arrived today to go knocking on doors.
All right.
I am leading in the polls, by the way. I am
good.
leading.
Let's keep that going. But let me tell you something.
Yes.
I know a lot of my friends from Staten Island and Brooklyn and Manhattan are all transplanted down there to Florida. Why don't you get Joe Gianniscoli and Big Pussy and some of the Sopranos guys to go down there and knock on doors for you? Because I know there's a lot of Italians down there, and they're all big Trump supporters.
Yeah, I spoke to Big Pussy, I don't know, a couple of months ago. He says, give me a call, because he's got a band. He goes around and he sings.
Yeah, we had Joe Gianniscoli on the show a few weeks back, and Joe's been going around raising money to buy PPE for different masks and shields and stuff. It seems like your buddies from The Sopranos are all doing the right thing. Let me ask you a Sopranos question, because this is a big question. Recently, David Chase said that at the last episode, it is to be assumed that Tony Soprano got whacked in the diner.
He got whacked, right.
Do you think he got whacked?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think that was the ending? We were just supposed to assume that Tony's dead.
That was the rumor, and that was supposedly to be the ending.
All
when
right.
the two guys come in, they show guys walking in.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, look, I don't want to take you off
He's a good guy.
subject.
Jimmy was a good guy. Jimmy was a really good guy.
I don't want to take you off topic, but I love The Sopranos.
was
You
a good show,
also,
good cast.
we got a minute left, but you support a ban on non-natural born citizens running for office, right? So
That's correct.
It's your position that if you were not naturally born here in America, you should not have a say in the legislative process.
That is correct. And let me tell you why. We've watched Ilhan Omar. We have 30 congressional leaders that are not natural-born Americans. And during COVID, when they presented a package for a stimulus of $100 million to illegals and not take care of 70,000 veterans. So what's wrong with that picture? Because they're not naturally born. They're saying, let's flood with more illegals, but we have to fix America first. That a direct plan comes against the president's plan for America first. America must come first. We must always honor our veterans. And what are they doing? They're trying to destroy those statues to erase history. So this ban is going to be, it's going to be an amendment, I would assume, to the Constitution. Because if the president's got to be American born, why should not Congress be? Because they went off scope by giving constantly. What do they give? Give to refugees, give here, give here. How come? That's why you don't have to say how come or why we have a systemic mental illness, homeless problem. In New York alone, there's 66,000.
Yep.
So you don't have to say why. Democratic leadership and their lies puts money to illegals to look humane.
Of course.
It's not humane when you leave your own American veterans who fought the war on terror after 9/11. I was a 9/11 survivor.
Yep.
And you leave them on the street. That's the simple reason, because they're not focusing on American values.
Darren, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much. We're going to have you back soon. Go out and check out Aquino 4 Congress and vote for this guy. He's one of us. We're going to take a quick break right after this. Back with Jonathan Bell. Welcome back, folks. I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes.
How's it working?
I'm still corona free.
Didn't you might be fake tan off?
Well, that's because that's not a fake tan. That's a real tan.
This November, and Democrats don't want to see it, at least establishment ones. It seems like they're trying to sort of
Against weed, but for guns, right? There's all these different, and to me the palette is the middle, there's different shades of purple, and that's who's going to decide this election, right?
Wine's kicking in.
There you go.
It's just gonna work out after this. 30 seconds. Your cue is you look for my 2 count. When I say 2 minutes left in the segment, you're filling the next guy up.
You know what I'm saying? That you have. All righty, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. We have quite the fervent social media audience. People joining us all around the country and all around the world. Just heard from Kevin McCullough, nationally syndicated radio host, and heard here in New York on AM 970 about the spike in crime. Darren Aquino was here just a little bit. He's a candidate for Congress in Florida's 19th congressional district, and he's in the lead right now, and we need more Republicans in the House, that's for sure. You got to go vote. Now, joining me right now is one of my favorite guests. Before I bring him on, I just want to tell you that I try as best I could to create scenarios where I break every single labor law so that I can make Jonathan lose it a little bit. So I may joke around a little bit in this segment, but I want to preface it by saying it's satire, because I know satire is no longer allowed. But my good buddy joins us right now, one of the best attorneys around, Jonathan Bell from Bell Law Group. They're a labor and employment law firm. He's the founder of the Bell Law Group, of course, also. JB, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it, brother.
No, John, are you kidding me? I love being on the show, even though after every time I'm on, I get more of these gray hairs. I didn't have any of these gray hairs before we started interviewing me. These labor law violations that you're always telling me about, it's making me grow more and more gray.
All right, well, right now I'm going to try to keep it straight for a little bit, and then I have been engaging in some behavior that I want to run by you, and you can tell me if I'm breaking any laws. But the new thing is, and me and you were talking about, you know, in the beginning of the COVID, about how employers needed to understand what was happening with COVID to bring their employees back, and employees needed to understand their rights, and you're one of the best employment law guys around. I'm hearing a lot of people are calling their employees to come back to work, and they don't want to come back to work because of this, you know, super bonus, unemployment. And now Trump says he's going to extend the PPP for 5 more weeks. Is this good or bad?
Well, I think it's great that they're extending the PPP. They're just generally making the terms a little easier for small businesses to comply with, as far as turning that into the grant. I mean, there's $130 billion still available. I don't know what's with these small businesses that they're not applying. It's essentially free money to get your business off the ground and continue to operate. I mean, before it was required, you were required to spend 75% on payroll, and now you're only required to spend 60% and use the rest on allowable expenses. So it's a great program. It's still available. They did do what they were supposed to do for small businesses. John, I saw a statistic: over 65% of the loans were for under $50,000. So that's great. That means that small businesses are actually getting their money, and chances are it's going to be forgiven. So I'm surprised. And I know, John, me and you spoke about this early on. You know, that first round went so quickly. And most people, I mean, they went to big businesses, and most small businesses weren't able to get it. The second round, I still can't believe there's money left over. But if you haven't applied, you have till August 8th, 2020. Get that application in and get that money. As far as the extra $600, that's going to end this month. So employers who are having trouble getting employees, after that is over, they'll probably be able to get the employees back. And I've seen some employees who've actually surprisingly have contacted me and said, I got kicked off unemployment. My employer told them that they offered me the job, and now they're not giving me unemployment. I'm saying, so what? That's what's supposed to happen.
Right,
so,
exactly.
I think that the government's a little bit overwhelmed, or else they would do that a little bit more. But you are running a chance that if you're not accepting the position and your employer advises the Department of Labor, you're going to get kicked off, and now you're not going to have a job or the unemployment.
Got it. So let me ask you this. Back when we were at the studio, I had pointed out to you that I was making some of my employees get my coffee in the morning and get my dry cleaning and stuff. And you said that was a complete and absolute no-no, right? I mean, unless you're paying them extra or something like that. So I stopped doing that. Now, Jess, one of my producers who's working very hard during the COVID, I often ask her during liquid lunch to make me a fresh drink or fetch me a beer from the refrigerator or something. Is that, do I have any employment labor problems there or no?
I would recommend against it. And as the question's coming out, I mean, I think more's coming out. Maybe I'm losing. You're killing me. But let me tell you something. Nico has been begging me to take his case, and because I like you so much,
Nico is rounding up my rounding up my former employees. They're trying to start a class action against me for being a dictator. Sometimes you could probably leave off the tater. You know.
Well, listen, it's on video. You pay me that $1 retainer, so I'm conflicted out.
That's right. You can't take the case. I gave you the $1 retainer. I want to tell you about something I heard this morning and how it relates to this settlement we're going to talk to. I was with some folks this morning at my son's ball game, and they knew the Garner family. Eric Garner, who was unfortunately killed by a cop here in New York, his family got $9 million. And some people that know them well say that Al Sharpton and some of their people got 60%, the lawyers got 60%, and the family got 30%, okay? Now, that sounds scurrilous, but me and you both know how that could happen. Harvey Weinstein victims now are set to receive part of a $19 million settlement. There were a lot of victims. There's $19 million. What do you think these people are actually going to get for all this pain and suffering?
So this is, in my opinion, although it sounds like a lot of money, I hate the terms of this settlement. It has to, first of all, it has to be approved by the bankruptcy court in Delaware, and it has to be approved by the district court in New York because of the different claims going on. But I hate the settlement. There were 80 people that generally came out against Harvey Weinstein, 80 females that said that they were either sexually assaulted or harassed. Now, what this does is essentially it sets a client fund together, and there's no jury. You basically, each person goes in front of an arbitrator, and the award is limited to either $7,500 to $750,000. Now, you can't just say, okay, this sounds good, I opt in, and other people say I opt out. If this goes through, everybody is required to go through this. So it's really unfair. And a friend of mine who does what I do, Doug Wigdor, is representing a number of the people against Harvey Weinstein. And he made a great point. This is all insurance company money. Harvey Weinstein's not paying a nickel towards it. Harvey Weinstein doesn't even have to admit guilt. I mean, listen, if you have some people who voluntarily want to go forward with this process, fine. But there are other people that they want to get this story out there. They want to get in front of a jury. They want a jury to make a determination as to how much the pain and suffering was worth to them. And also, I think Harvey Weinstein should pay out of his own pocket.
Yep.
Given the severity of what happened, it's disgusting.
All right, we got to leave it there, JB. Thank you so much. Go check out the Bell Law Group if you got any issues with employment law at all. Jonathan Bell's the best around. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
You're the best, JT. Thanks a lot.
I'll see you soon. We'll see you right after this. Take a quick minute break. Come back with some more news of the day. Top of the hour. Christopher Columbus, he found America. We have to get rid of all his statues because there were indigenous people here when he got here and he put them to work. He's a horrible human being. This is serious, as the Wonder Pets once said. What's going on? I mean, it's getting me mad. You know, I'm half Italian, half Irish, okay? But I want to know. I want somebody, Lisa Durden from the Black Lives Matter movement. I want somebody from Black Lives Matter to come on this show. I dare you to come on this show and tell me one good reason why Christopher Columbus statues are being beheaded, being ripped down. In Baltimore, they threw one in the sea the other day. What did Cristobal Columbus have to do with Black Lives Matter? I really want to know this, okay? The guy came from Genoa, Italy, okay? If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have Genoa salami, okay? Everybody likes a little salami in their antipasto, I'm sure, okay? Who do you think brought that over here? Christopher Columbus, of course, all right? Donald Trump is talking about doing a park of heroes and saving statues and all this crap. How about something serious, okay? How about talking about some real truths? I want you to take a look at this because you sit there and scratch your head. Wait a minute. Why are they, Christopher Columbus was actually once the target of anti-Catholic sentiment, okay? And he's often slandered by people who misrepresent his legacy. And I want to read a little bit to you. The majority of Americans view the explorer positively, okay? A Knights of Columbus Marist poll from December 2016 says 63% of Americans expressed a favorable opinion, okay? 55% of Americans were in favor of Columbus Day. And by contrast, fewer than 3 in 10 viewed Christopher Columbus unfavorably, okay? And only 33% opposed the holiday named after him. So again, the tail is wagging the dog. 20% of Americans have an unfavorable opinion about Columbus. 33% of them don't like the holiday, okay? And now I wonder this, riddle me this, Batman. Barack Obama, okay, he's half African-American. He has a white mom. But he's lauded across the land as the first African-American president, which he was. How come he didn't scream about Ulysses S. Grant? How come he didn't take down the Christopher Columbus statues? How come, did you ever hear of the word Juneteenth when Barack Obama was president? Now, they want to eliminate Columbus Day, a day of great pride for us of Italian-American descent. He found the joint. He thought he was fine in China, but he wound up here. He found America, okay? And by the way, they're trying to change the name of the District of Columbia for some reason. Columbia was like the town they named after Columbus. It was like an ode to Columbus. And just in my last minute here, okay, in the 1840s, European immigrants swelled the ranks of Catholics in the U.S., okay? And the opposition to Christopher Columbus swelled from people who were non-Catholic. They were white people. And Catholics were subject to discrimination, slander, ridicule, and anti-Catholic propaganda, also mob violence. I don't know if you know, but 11 Italians were actually lynched and hung in Louisiana until Father Michael McGivney founded the Knights of Columbus in 1882, and they chose Christopher Columbus as their patron. I'm going to get Mike McHugh, former Grand Master, on here one day this week. We're going to take a quick break right now, and we're going to come back with a lady who's going to blow you away. Vicky Palladino joins us right after this. All right, welcome back. Just kicking off hour 2 here. And when it's a Money Monday, we bring on the money guests all the time. I like to talk about your money a little more to kick off the week and tell you what's going on with your portfolio. But very rarely do we get this lucky. You know, recently a group of young men here in New York, the New York City Young Republicans, led by this kid Gavin Wax, who's gaining a lot of steam lately, and I really like what he's doing. They stood up for something. They stood up for the elimination of the Teddy Roosevelt statue in front of the Museum of Natural Art. And, you know, what? Woodrow Wilson? Natural History. Museum of Natural History. I'm sorry, not Natural Art. My bad. And, you know, they were met by all kinds of protesters, of course, these punks that are out there. And, you know, oddly enough, a lot of them are white kids who've been playing video games in their mom's basement their whole life, but now they're out there thinking they're all activists, okay? A real activist joins us right now, someone who's a patriot, a great patriot, and she stands up for her community. She stands up for America anytime she can. Vicky Palladino joins us right now. She's the president of the Whitestone Republican Club, and she recently had this exchange with a bunch of protesters. Check this out, and then we'll go to Vicky.
You're a radical left. You are a domestic terrorist group, and we will see to it that you fall, and you fall so hard, you won't know what hit you.
Check your privilege and get back over there.
Yo, who are you talking to? Huh? You got something to say, little boy? You got something to say, little boy? No, you don't, do you? Why don't you? No, I'll stand wherever I want.
I think you guys
you can stand
represent
wherever
something
you want.
very bad.
Yeah, what do you, no. Why don't you my ass? You're sorry. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
You don't know what to say. You're bigots. You don't understand
Is
the
that the best you got, darling boy? Is that the best you got, baby boy? Is that the best you got? Is that the best you got? You tell him. Go back to school.
Is that the best you got, baby boy?
Is that the best you got, baby boy? What up, punk?
Now, yeah, Vicky, you know what? You rose to national acclaim when you confronted Bill de Blasio in the streets of Queens when he was running last, and you got right in his face. And you know, I would say, you know, in some circles this may be incorrect these days, but I know back in the day, my grandmother and her sisters, my Aunt Jeannie and my Aunt Noreen, we used to say she's one tough broad. You know what I mean?
That's what they call me. Yeah, that's what they're calling me now. One tough broad, which is cool. That's fine with me. Yeah.
Okay, I'm saying, so you're not offended if I say it lovingly, because I know you're one tough broad.
I know.
Okay.
I know, and that's
so tell me what's going on. This kid Gavin Wax, I saw him last week, a couple weeks ago, and I told Nico, I said, we got to get this kid on because I like the way he presents himself. And they looked like they were doing the right thing, and then they got you there to protect them, these young kids. What are these kids doing? Like, what's the problem with these statues?
First of all, Gavin has the right idea. He put together this whole thing. It's the New York Young Republican Club. And through his leadership, let me give Gavin his kudos. He's really risen to the occasion here. I went down there, as I will do continuously as our city continues to burn and they try to destroy our history. And then these young kids, after all the speeches and little thises and that's were done, the reporters were going around, and these Antifa people were off to my right. And I see them with the Palestinian flag on their face, a full garb, you know, and that just like my blood was just boiling. John, we've been waiting how many months to finally tell these people exactly what we think of them. Okay. You may not erase our history. You may not burn our city down. Frustration was over the top. It was 90 degrees out, and I was having none of it. So I went over there, and you saw what I did. I told the first part of the clip was when I was talking to two Antifa guys and a guy from Black Lives Matter, when this squirt from across the street decided to come over and tell me to check my white effing privilege. Really? Really, punk? You're going to talk to me like that? I don't think so. Okay, and then when you ask him where he's from, he says New York City, which is a bunch of crap. Because if you're from New York, you say you're from the boroughs. You're from Brooklyn, you're from Queens, you're from so on and so forth. You don't say I'm from New York City, so bam, you're not even from here. Then he's wearing a T-shirt that says American University, which was a total embarrassment. So I asked him if he knew his history. Do you know anything about that statue there? Do you know who Theodore Roosevelt really is? Okay, and the answer was no. Then this girl comes across the street like she was supposed to protect him. Get out of my way. Step aside. And you saw what I did. I just wasn't going to have it anymore. We got to fight, John, and you got really feisty too. Enough is enough. This is New York City. This is the capital of the world. We're going to allow this crap to go on much longer? I mean, really?
No, well, look, first and foremost, let me just say this. If there's any white privilege about you, it's that beautiful hairdo of yours, and that's it. Because anybody would be privileged to have that beautiful coif of hair. I gotta tell you, I mean, it's a beautiful hairdo. I wish I had that hair myself personally.
Well, hey, it took a few years to get, but I got it now.
Let me tell you, when I was a kid, my mom, when she wanted to really give us a beatdown, she had this big cocktail ring. She used to turn it inside on our palm, and she used to give us a castagno off the side of the head with the ring.
There's nothing like an Italian mother. It's the wooden spoon. It's the slipper that comes flying across.
I thought you were going to give. I thought you were going to take that kid and give him a good slap, because that's what I think he needed.
John, when I tell you, it took everything I had, really, because look, you raise kids, I raise kids. They're grown-ups today, all right? They're men, they're women. There was only so much you were allowed to push. And my house, you could say anything you want, so long you stayed within a certain line. You didn't cross the line and everything was fine. And but when you see these young kids thinking they're all that and they ain't nothing but a little bit, it's time to tell them, you ain't nothing but a little bit. Get out of the way. And when we watch this Black Lives Matter movement, and we have one here in Whitestone actually going on with these bunch of punk-ass kids that sadly are being led a lot by the grown-ups in our community because they think it's a freedom of speech and it's a rite of passage. Half of their parents didn't grow up in the 60s and the 70s to reflect back on a real racial situation we had, and about, the Vietnam War that we watched every day on TV. So the parents should take a step back, too, and review, they're 40 years old. Go over history a little bit. That's why I don't mind being called an old broad. If you want to use me as a source of history, and you the same, I mean, you're not as old as I am, but I'm not saying that. But we can reflect back on the way things used to be and what we need to do to get them back. I don't want to say we're too far gone because I don't like that. We have to say that we've got a lot to live for yet. We don't want to leave New York. We're born and raised New Yorkers. We want to stay here. But in order to stay here, John, we all know what we have to do in 2021, and that's vote out these radicals that, thank God, what's his name is timing out, de Blasio. Time to get in a new mayor, time to vote out as many city councilmen and women as we can. We need to get control back of this city. It starts local government. The city council just voted to defund our police by $1 billion. Then you had the week prior where Charlene, whatever the hell her name is.
Charlene.
Yeah.
She stole $800 million from us.
Yes, and everybody, where's the money? No, nobody's held accountable in this administration. Okay, so he makes these administrative decisions, and we have to, kind of like King Cuomo, we abide by that. Well, that was the first thing he did, was the taking apart of the anti-crime unit, which was the first real disaster in the breakdown of this city as far as any kind of real police work.
No doubt about it.
And you saw what happened over this weekend. How many shootings? 200? How many fatalities? 50, 49, whatever the number is. This lawlessness has got to be brought under control. And I don't know what the answer is to it right now.
Well, you know what the answer is. Everybody needs a little more Vicky in their life. And the next protest, the next support, the next rally, anything there is, you call me. I'm there. I'm right there with you. Okay?
Yeah, I tell you, John, you put a lot of spunk back in the show. Thanks. We really need to stay angry, and we really need to understand this cannot go on. We need to stand up, folks. Take the city back. You have it in your control. We have it in our control.
All right.
Let's do it. Get the right people. Thanks, John.
Thank you. That's my great friend, Vicky Palladino. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back with some more news of the day right after this. right. What did we find out today? A lot. We found out today from our good friend Jonathan Bell, one of the best employment attorneys around, that Donald Trump has signed a 5-week extension for those small businesses seeking PPP loans. And if you want a little PPP to come your way, get your application in, because according to JB, there's still $130 billion available. I know some people got turned down the first time. They didn't have their paperwork in line. The store is open. And for all you small businesses out there, go get the cash. Now, let me also talk to you about a little more business here. There are companies out there that are engaged in like work from home businesses that are skyrocketing now. Skyrocketing, okay? My friend Italia and my buddy Nick, they have what started as a side gig with the Smart Coffee. And they call it the dose, the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. You drink this coffee every day, you lose weight, you get smarter. Okay, and they're selling from home, and more people are focused when working from home. InvestView, my company, I'm the chief digital officer. I'm one of the more significant shareholders in it. I am not soliciting you to buy shares in it, but I will tell you that we are seeing a tremendous increase in enthusiasm from the 20,000 distributors we have around the world that sell our subscription educational products. So if you're looking at things to invest in, and before you get crazy and start laying out a bunch of dough for a franchise or something else, take a look at these work from home businesses, because people are home more. People can take a little more time right now to pay attention. The summer may be a little scraggly now that beaches are open and all that good stuff. But these work-from-home businesses are pretty darn good. Now, on the politics front, you may remember that all through the primary process, Barack Obama never once came out and endorsed Joe Biden. Okay, and he was his vice president for 8 years, BTW. Okay, he did, Barack Obama, take time out to endorse Justin Trudeau, the guy who wore blackface before he became the Prime Minister of Canada. So I thought it was strange that Obama was going out of his way to endorse the Canadian Prime Minister who wore blackface and admitted it, but he didn't come out in favor of Joe Biden. Now he has, and he has done it strongly. And I found a wonderful video this weekend that just shows you a great contrast between Obama and Joe Biden. Look how much Obama loves Joe Biden.
Joe to be my vice president was one of the best decisions I ever made.
What are we doing? What's going on right now?
I believe Joe has all the qualities we need in a president right now.
I got hairy legs.
That's Joe. He's someone whose own life has taught him how to persevere.
So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
How to bounce back when you've been knocked down.
Give me a break.
Joe talks about opportunity for our kids.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
And Joe talks to families who've lost a hero.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Through all his trials, he's never once forgotten.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
And I know he'll surround himself with good people.
And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
That's why I'm so proud to endorse Joe Biden for President of the United States.
What?
I mean, if I don't know why anybody would question voting for Joe Biden. The guy, I mean, great contrast, great video, and lots of my friends send the videos all the time, and I'm usually trolling Facebook, looking for good content and stuff. Right here in New York, I saw something that I hadn't seen in a while on my buddy Billy Smith, former chief of staff to Congressman Dan Donovan here in Staten Island and Brooklyn. But Billy now lives in Jersey. And he pointed out that all of a sudden, the police department in New York is taking aim at the elected officials on social media. Okay, you had the Manhattan South Bureau, Manhattan North Bureau talking about there are all kinds of shootings and lawlessness going on. Where are our elected officials? And the better one, that was New York's Manhattan South, North. Disgraceful the amount of people shot in Manhattan North in 24 hours. Where are the elected officials? The community is suffering, okay? And then, not to be outdone, the NYPD Manhattan South Twitter account got in the act, and they said this: Manhattan DA Cy Vance, where are you? No show at any shooting scene. Our community is being attacked. 24 people shot in 24 hours. Where are you? It's way out of bounds, although I love it, for the police department to actually take to social media and blast our elected officials. But they deserve it, okay? And when it comes down to New York City District Attorney Cy Vance, okay, this guy has done nothing but use this office for patronage, okay? He's done nothing but take big money donors like Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein, and I want to reiterate my long-standing thought that Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself, and people have stolen it already, but last week I said it first. Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Jeffrey Epstein's alleged pimp, she brought in the girls for him to molest and traffic to all his friends. She's in FBI custody now, and I will just say this once again. Ghislaine Maxwell did not kill herself. And I hope they got her under lock and key. Otherwise, the Clinton cartel is probably coming after her. And they're trying to track her down because you're going to have this whole Podesta thing blow up. You're going to have the Prince Andrew blow up. You got Ehud Barak blowing up. If you watch Filthy Rich on Netflix and you hear from the women who are actually the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, you could judge for yourself. But these people, when they recount the rape and the trafficking and stuff, 20 years later, they're still tremendously emotional, which kind of just makes me feel like lots of bad things happen to those poor people. And one final note, I mentioned last week that the little Indian doing the Zen on the front of the Land O'Lakes butter was going to be gone, and people thought I was joking, that I was doing some satire. I wasn't. Jess went to Stop and Shop this weekend to check it out. She did some on-the-ground reporting for us, and it turns out that here's a shot of the new Land O'Lakes butter. You remember the little Indian with like the one feather sticking up? She wasn't bothering anybody. How could you bother somebody sitting there on a box of butter? I mean, everybody loves butter to begin with, and the Indian is not bothering anybody. Do we have the Land O'Lakes or no? The farmers, I guess, got rid of the Indian, and I don't know. The village people are getting rid of the cop. The Indian's probably next. Who knows? But we're going to take a quick break.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
Please stop the insanity. We have to stop the insanity. Okay, you look at the lamestream media, the left-wing media, okay, the propaganda arm of the Democratic National Committee, and all we hear about how COVID cases are spiking. Okay, no one says death rate is declining as fast as ever, hospitalizations are flat. All they want to talk about is cases, spiking. The mayor of Seattle, Mayor Drunken, I call her, she said it was going to be a summer of love. They were having street festivals. These are kids expressing themselves. Then all of a sudden the angry mob got mad at her. They showed up at her front door. What's the first thing she did? She called 911, okay? Andrew Cuomo came out last week and said, no, but these protests are okay. The kids are just doing what they do and they're expressing themselves. So protests good, Presidential rallies, no good. Okay? And other people are coming out now and urging these wackos to continue looting and rioting and demonstrating for a cause which is, to me, lost its focus. And someone who knows even more about this stuff and more than me, Fernando Uribe, joins me right now, as he does every Money Monday. He's one of my money guests. He's a great friend of the show. He's the host of Politically Direct on Insider NJ, faculty member at Bergen Community College. And Fernando, a little earlier in the show, I put together a video that contrasted Barack Obama endorsing Joe Biden and put, some of his greatest flubs in between it, which was kind of humorous. But there's no joke here that Obama is urging young people to keep protesting.
Well, John, listen, first of all, thanks to have me back on again. I always love being on Money Monday with you. Listen, Barack Obama, like many liberals in our political climate, John, are like the poster child for hypocrisy. Because for 8 years, let's be very fair, did we ever hear a peep about pancake syrup, about statues, about streets, about monuments, about sports teams? For the love of Christ, not a peep. Listen, most Americans didn't even know what Juneteenth was from 2009 until the early parts of 2017. And again, many liberals, as always, give Barack Obama a pass. And now what he's looking to do is encourage people taking to the streets to protest. And listen, that's their First Amendment right. But we know what's happening with a lot of these protests, John. They're being very disorderly. They're being very disruptive. They're being disrespectful of our brave men and women in blue on streets all across America. And quite frankly, it's insulting because people must think that the internet doesn't exist when it comes to Barack Obama. Even something as simple as, when he took a photo op in front of Mount Rushmore, that was, CNN and everybody was salivating over themselves about how wonderful of a moment this was in American history. But the minute that the president of the United States decides to have a rally in front of Mount Rushmore and remind people about the virtues that make this country great, about what these four men did to enhance the greatest experiment in democracy, no, he's vilified by the left-wing media. And quite frankly, I know a lot of people are tired of the double standard.
Yeah, I saw a contrast yesterday on social media where we were talking about when Barack Obama went to Mount Rushmore. They said it was beautiful and majestic and all this other stuff. And then the other day when Donald Trump goes there, they're showing like these Native Americans who are trying to block the road and the fights between. And all they want to talk about is how the people didn't have masks on. It wasn't beautiful and majestic when Donald Trump goes there, but it is when Obama goes there. There's a crazy, double standard out there. But yeah, I said it earlier in my open. Why did Barack Obama was supposedly our first black president. How come we never heard of Juneteenth for 8 years?
Yes.
And now we're hearing about it now? How come?
Well, listen, again, it's a reminder about how dishonest the liberal media is. And one of the things that Barack Obama is really trying to convey with these Facebook Lives at home is to remind people why protesting is important. Can we remind people also that during his 8 years, we saw the incident in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We saw the Trayvon Martin incident. We saw what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, in Baltimore, Maryland, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in New York after the Eric Garner case. And not once did the liberal media ever have an outcry about what's Barack Obama and the Justice Department doing. Never once did I hear him putting forward the Attorney General to talk about an executive order to address police reform. All I heard was a lot of chatter and the liberal media giving him a pass. Say what you want about the President of the United States, but Donald Trump, directing Attorney General William Barr, put forth an executive order to address police reforms. It may not be complete right now. It may not be as comprehensive as people would like, but at least it's a start. John, did you ever hear about Barack Obama standing in front of the Oval Office or in the Rose Garden talking about police reform? Not once, and the liberal media never called him out on it. It's so intellectually dishonest of the media that, quite frankly, more and more Americans are waking up to it.
Yeah, no, what I do recall is long before he was vice president, Joe Biden actually bragged about being the author of the '94 crime bill, which put exorbitant amounts of minorities in jail for very small amounts of drugs and small crimes where people got like 20-year sentences. And nobody talks about how Donald Trump signed the First Step Act that let a lot of these people jailed under Joe Biden's law out of jail. And it's just crazy double standard out there, Fernando.
No, it is. And to even make it worse, I mean, there's rumors circulating that Kamala Harris most likely is going to be his vice presidential running mate. Does anybody forget that Kamala Harris, as the Attorney General of the state of California, incarcerated more people of color for petty offenses? And again, if you're expecting the liberal media to call out Joe Biden, as you alluded to, with the crime bill in 1994, or Kamala Harris with her horrendous record as Attorney General, we might be waiting until God knows, until who knows, maybe the Mets win another World Series. I mean, it might be that long, John.
Well, look, let's not get to the Mets because that's a soft subject with me, you know. But
sure, I get it.
I am looking forward to the start of the season, though. I mean, at least there's going to be something to watch. I don't know how long we can watch it, but usually we get about 50 or 60 games where we can root for the Mets, and then they're kind of out of it by then. So this might be the perfect dose for us, a 60-game season. Yeah. We might be good.
Absolutely. A short season, someone gets hot, they can run away with the title. It's that simple.
No doubt about it. I like the staff. Let me ask you this. Aside from, being a great friend of ours and on the show with me every week, you also host Politically Direct on Insider NJ, and you work over at Bergen Community College. I'm hearing from one of my buddies who's a professional college counselor. He said that he's never seen a time like this where parents can actually call the college and get discounts on the price. He said that colleges are hurting right now. People don't want to pay the full freight because they don't know if their kids are going to be in school. Tell me, I got two. This is my first year where I'm going to have two kids in college at the same time. Should I be calling their colleges right now and asking them for a discount for this year?
Well, I can't speak for any other institution in New Jersey, but I know that where I work at Bergen Community College, until further notice, I mean, virtual learning will continue. So it's putting, my kids at a stark disadvantage. And I think at the same time, it's putting parents in a real quagmire about what to do for the fall semester. Again, term bills are going to be expected to be paid sometime this month in July, as it always is with the calendar. But I believe parents have been reaching out to the college. I know some faculty members that I've been talking to off the air have said to me, hey, you'd be surprised how parents are reaching out to not just this college, but universities throughout the state. Now, how successful they're going to be, John, remains to be seen, because there still isn't an exact consensus, at least here in New Jersey, about what to do with higher education. Not every college has agreed to continue virtual learning. Some have actually gone forward and said they want to actually open the campus up in September. Again, it might put a lot of students in precarious positions. Parents themselves are concerned about the safety of not just their kids, but also of other family members, especially if kids are going to be on campus, exposed to other students. We don't know whether the social distancing guidelines will continue, whether or not face masks will be required. Again, there isn't a consensus here, and I know that Governor Murphy continues to get scrutiny because of this, because of not a well laid out plan. And it's just something that really perpetuates the narrative that COVID is overwhelming us at every level, not just in government, but in our daily lives, John.
All right, we got a minute left here, Fernando. The jobs report was quite positive the other day. What do you think this really means going into the election?
Well, I would say I think it's a great start because we saw over 4.8 million people added to payrolls, and the industries that have been hardest hit during COVID, which include hospitality and also medical practices, dentists, doctors, not just general practitioners, but specialists, have also been able to rehire again. And I think it's a good sign in July as states continue to reopen throughout the rest of the summer as we go into the fall. I think it'll be good news for the president, and it's what he can run on. Again, Joe Biden can't give us anything about any sound economic policies. He was part of an economy for 8 years that doomed us. And this president, listen, like him or not, he was enacting policies that were reforming the economy and keeping it strong pre-COVID, and it'll happen once we normalize a little bit here in the States, John.
All right, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much, Fernando. You're the bomb. Thank you.
Thank you.
Check out Fernando Uribe on Politically Direct on Insider NJ. His podcast is blowing up. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right here and come back with the WTF as a wrap up today's show.
5, 4, 3, 2.
right, welcome back. Coming to you live from the belly flop capital of the world, John's house. It's quite bright outside, so I don't know if you can see, but right out there is my pool. And yesterday, I almost had a major incident in the pool because I was, my kids were encouraging me. They knew I was hungover and I was a little dopey. My kids were encouraging me to do a belly flop in the pool to make them laugh, which I did. And I did it so good that like I landed like chest and face first in there. And I smashed my face. My eyes were red. And my eyelids were like popped up in the air like this. But the kids were cracking up laughing, and that's really all that matters. But yeah, I posted it on Facebook. If you want to check out my Facebook, John Tobacco, and I posted it under All Belly Flops Matter. So that's like just so that in case you do a belly flop and it's not as good as mine, I just want you to know that our arms are open and all belly flops matter. I mean, if it's good or bad, if you're skinny or fat. I particularly have a great fat belly, which I keep hidden under. If you notice, I asked Nico to keep this lower third. Where is that? Right down here. So that's like right about where the fat starts, and you can't see anything under it. So although I may look like I'm a dashing, fit man, but the important thing that's going on is it's another week, another bunch of crap. And I'm thinking in my last minutes here, and I'd like your feedback on this, if you could give me your thoughts. I'm thinking about starting a significant national movement called Blue Lights Matter. Lights, L-I-G-H-T-S, Blue Lights Matter. And the idea is that if you say Blue Lives Matter, then they automatically flag you as a racist. If you say Blue Lives Matter, that means you don't like Black Lives Matter, okay? Thank you, Nikki. And what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about starting a big movement. I got some celebrities way bigger than me who are interested in joining me and advocating for it. But the idea is that if you support cops, this doesn't mean you're against Black lives, okay? If you support cops, you know, everybody has like lights outside their house. You put one blue light in your fixture, like by your garage or by your front door. Now, why would I do that, JT? That sounds ridiculous. Why would I do that? Why you would do that is this. Because our cops are under attack in America right now. In every blue city, there are efforts underway to either abolish the police, defund the police, smash the police off the head with a brick. All people are retiring like mad. My good buddy Pete Devine retired, you know, a couple weeks back after 25 years on the force. I said, Bud, you've been on 25 years, meritorious service. Why are you quitting? He says, the mayor and the city don't have our back no more. And he stepped away. And it's going to happen more. Blue Lights Matter is for this, okay? I support cops. You support cops. We have a problem. We have an emergency. Our family needs a cop, right? When the cops are driving down the street, patrolling, and they get a call in your neighborhood, and they go down the block and they see 7 or 8 or 10 houses with one blue light, you don't have to go nuts. One blue light tells the police, this neighborhood supports you. We got your back. We want you to be here. And if they drive down a block with no blue lights, then they know they're in enemy territory, and maybe it helps them a little. I'm going to work on it a little more. Any suggestions you got, send them in. I love your feedback. I love hearing from you all, and I love most knowing that every single day we're speaking up for America, we're speaking up for democracy and patriotism, and I'll be doing it again tomorrow right here. Same bad time, same bad channel, more Liquid Lunch.